In this video, we demonstrate an OLAP endpoint that enables analysts to analyze RDF data using semantic web analysis graphs. To start the analysis, we need to select an analysis graph, and we select the analysis graph for the industries in the news. After selecting the analysis graph, it's shown, and as we can see, it's composed of analysis situations as green circles and navigation steps as gray directed lines connecting them. Let's have a look over our analysis graph, and let's start from mentions by industry analysis situation. This analysis situation counts the number of mentions by industry in the second half of 2016. Starting from this analysis situation, we can navigate following this navigation step, which performs a drill down to company, a dice on industry, and a slice on the number of employees, taking the flow to the next analysis situation, mentions by company. This analysis situation counts the number of mentions by company for big companies for a specific industry in the second half of 2016. Starting from this analysis situation, we can follow one of either two navigation steps. We can either follow this navigation step, which dices on company and removes the slice on number of employees, taking the flow to mentions for a specific company analysis situation, or we can follow this navigation step, which dices on category of news and adds confidence score measure, taking the flow to the next analysis situation, which counts the number of mentions and the average confidence score by company for big companies for a specific industry and a specific category of news in the second half of 2016. Let's start the analysis and start from mentions by industry analysis situation and see its specification. This analysis situation has a mention as a fact and the sum of the number of mentions as a measure, and it has two dimensions: the time dimension, which has date as a slice position, and a slice condition restricting the values of date to the values in the second half of 2016, and it has entity dimension with industry level as a granularity level on this dimension. If we go to the parameters to this analysis situation, we see that it has no parameters to be bound, so we can query it. After querying the analysis situation, we can see the results. The results can be ordered depending on a specific field, the sum field for example, and they can be visualized using multiple charts. Let's select the pie chart for example, and we can see the results as a pie chart. For example, we have mobile devices with 860 mentions and cloud computing with 493 mentions, and so on. Let's go back to explore our graph, and we can see that from this analysis situation we can navigate following this navigation step. This navigation step, let's see its specification. It has mentions by industry as a source analysis situation and mentions by company as a target, and it has three operators: move to node at industry on entity dimension, and drill down to company on entity dimension, and slice on number of employees on entity dimension. So if we navigate following this navigation step, we can see that the target analysis situation, mentions by company, is activated. Let's see the specification of this analysis situation. This analysis situation is similar to mentions by industry. It has the same fact mention and the same measure, not sum of the number of mentions, and it has the same dimensions with the same specification on the time dimension, while the entity dimension is modified. So the dice level is industry and the dice node is dice node in industry, which is a variable to be bound by user, and it has a new slice position, number of employees, and a slice condition that restricts the number of employees to more than 10,000, and it has company as a granularity level instead of industry. So if we go to the parameters to this analysis situation, we can see industry dice level and the dice node is a parameter, and we can select a value for this variable supported by the auto completion. So let's select, for example, automotive industry, and query this analysis situation to see the results. There are total 16 results found, and let's visualize them as an area chart, for example, and we can see here the mentions for BMW and the mentions for Volkswagen Group, and so on. Let's go back to explore our graph. From this analysis situation, we can navigate using one of either two navigation steps. The first navigation step takes to this analysis situation and the other to that analysis situation. So if we see the specification of this navigation step, and see its operators, it has two operators: move to node at category of news on category, which moves to dice node on the dice level category of news, and the dice node is dice node on category of news, which is a variable, and add confidence score measure, which adds the confidence score measure to the target analysis situation with the average aggregation operator applied. So if we navigate following this navigation step, the target analysis situation is activated, and let's see its specification, and we can see the measures. The average confidence score measure is added, and it has three dimensions: the time dimension with the same specification, and the entity dimension with the same specification, but the value which was bound in the previous analysis situation to the dice node on industry as it's a variable is moved through the navigation to this analysis situation, and the category dimension is added with category of news as a dice level and dice node in category of news as a variable to be bound by user. So if we go to the parameters of this analysis situation and supported by the autocompleter, bind the value for the dice node and select, for example, the business value and query this analysis situation. We can see the results. There are total 13 results found, and let's visualize them as an area chart. And you can see, for example, Audi with 13 mentions, and it has the average confidence score is 0.939, and so on for the other results.